Awesome. Well, I'm glad that we've got families on from different campuses. It's always fun to see the broader community, and we will go ahead and get started. I am Laura Maestas. I am the CEO of DC Prep, and I'm so grateful to each of you for taking the time to speak with us this evening. I'm also joined by Niels, who is our Chief of External Affairs. And we are very glad to have the opportunity to catch you up on some of the work that we are doing to prepare for the coming school year. As you all know, the last few months have been very challenging. Between the challenges of COVID-19 to the reminders of racism and police brutality in our country, our families face many sources of stress. Niels and I both do this work because we believe in the power of people, and we trust that investing in our children, in your children, will result in a better future for all of us. So thank you for trusting us to partner with you in your child's education. We know that you chose DC Prep for your child because you want your child to be prepared for high school, college, and beyond. And that requires an education that focuses on academics and social emotional development. That always has been and always will be our focus. So in our conversation today, we'll talk about how we're working to make sure that we do what we've always done and to do it better, and how we're making adjustments in light of the trauma of the past few months and the ongoing health concerns that we all face. Before we start talking about plans, though, we want to address a question that may be on your mind, which is, why are we reopening our school buildings? As a network, we exist to fight the inequity that is inherent in the U.S. education system. For a host of reasons, including the many manifestations of racism, students of color have never had equal access to great schools, and that's wrong. DC Prep fights each day to change that. The abrupt transition to distance learning has been very hard on students and educators around the globe. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know that that challenge will continue to exist for a number of months to come. And while we know it is important to solve because every day matters, we also know that the impacts of what we do today will last a lifetime. At this time, families are presented with a difficult choice. Do you want to send your child to school in person for at least a portion of the time, or do you want to have them continue to learn at home? We believe that there are meaningful advantages to in-person instruction. First, as a network, we're good at in-person instruction. We've been doing it for a long time, and we've been doing it well. You can't deliver a virtual lesson the same way that you would deliver it if you were in person and expect it to have the same impact. And so as teachers around the world learned this past spring, there's a learning curve as we transition to virtual learning. We also know, and I'm sure many of you who have small children can attest to this, it is more age appropriate for our youngest learners to have in-person instruction. It's just easier for them to engage, and so much of what they're learning at that age is about how to build relationships with their classmates. And of course, building relationships is not something that ends after early childhood is over. Connection matters to everyone. Human beings are social, and for many of us, the social distancing of the last few months has led to feelings of social isolation. That can take a toll on mental health. Recent guidance from some health experts, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, highlights the value of in-person instruction for students. And for many of us, there is a practical side to sending your child to school. If you need to go to work, you need a safe place for your child to be during the day. So for all of those reasons, we know that there are advantages to having children attend school in person. And at the same time, we recognize that many families, especially Black and Latinx families, have reasons to be concerned about the health risks of sending your child to school in person. And so whether you think the advantages or risks of having your child attend school in person outweigh the other is a personal decision. There is no right or wrong answer. So if you want your child to attend school in person, that's the right call. If you want your child to learn from home, that's the right call too. Only you know what is right for your child, and we respect whatever decision you make. So, if health officials tell us that it is safe to open schools with the right health safeguards in place, we will open school buildings and we will offer online learning. And if at any point we're told that it is no longer safe to have schools open because of a second wave, we will shift to an entirely remote program. The focus of our conversation today is on how we will ensure that if your child comes to school in person, that we are ready to meet his or her needs. The need for physical safety, the need for emotional safety, and the need for academic learning. And I name those needs in that order because that reflects our beliefs about what has to come first. And based on the feedback that DC Prep families shared on the mayor's recent citywide survey about school reopening, we believe that's your priority as well. So I'm going to start by talking about physical safety. Through the citywide survey, you were super clear that DC Prep should be laser focused on health and safety as we get ready for the start of the year. Your top two priorities for reopening are ensuring regular deep cleaning of our buildings and preparing the building to meet social distance and safety requirements. In terms of deep cleaning, we are taking steps to increase the building cleanliness and ensure that we have PPE on hand for our DC Prep community. We've budgeted more than $500,000 more towards new sanitation protocols and PPE. We've already purchased over 13,000 masks, hundreds of gallons of hand sanitizer, and a mountain of thermometers, hand sanitizing wipes, and more. To prepare for social distancing and safety requirements, we have been gathering health guidance from the DC Department of Health, the CDC, and from colleagues doing this work in DC and around the country. And in July, we will host a town hall where we'll take you through the details of what it will look like for students to come to school in person. For today, though, we're going to focus on the high-level guidance that is driving our planning. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, states that COVID-19 is primarily transmitted person to person via respiratory droplets when people are in close proximity over a sustained period of time. It can also be transmitted to a lesser extent from surface to person. So to prevent transmission of COVID-19 and to reduce the impact if a member of our community becomes sick, we're going to take the following steps. First, to prevent person-to-person transmission of COVID-19, we are reducing the situations in which students are in close contact with each other or with adults for sustained periods of time. So this means that we will have no more than 12 people in each classroom, and we will maintain at least 6 feet between desks. To further prevent person-to-person transmission of COVID-19, we are instituting face covering or mask policies and thinking hard about how to offer classes like PE so that students will still get the benefit of those activities, but at a much lower risk. To prevent transmission of COVID-19 from surfaces, we are modifying and increasing our cleaning protocols, including frequent cleaning of high-touch surfaces and regular deep cleaning of the entire building. Hand sanitizer will be available in every classroom so that students and staff can clean their hands after touching surfaces. To further prevent surface-to-person transmission, we are also reducing or eliminating shared supplies in our classrooms. So each student will have their own personal Chromebook and dedicated supplies in their classroom. Any surfaces that need to be used by multiple students will be sanitized between use. And to limit the impact if a member of our community becomes sick, we are limiting the number of people who interact with each other. Students will primarily stay in the same classroom throughout the day, and we will restrict visitors to our buildings. We will also conduct daily health screenings of both students and staff. I just took you through a lot of information, and if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, okay, but what does all of that actually mean? And in order to try to give you a deeper sense of how that's gonna feel in person for your child, we will be sharing information at our next town hall the week of July 13th. We're tentatively planning on a family town hall on July 16th, which is a Thursday, where we will try to give you a better sense for what it will look like for your child to come and attend school in the fall, or to participate entirely in distance learning, because we know that you need as much information as possible in order to make a decision about whether you want your child to participate in virtual learning or whether you want them to participate in a hybrid model which would be both in-person learning and virtual learning. But again, tonight, we're sharing the big picture vision for what we're focused on next school year to support your child's academic learning and social emotional development. So to make sure that we address your questions at the next town hall, are there questions that you particularly want us to cover about health and safety? If so, please drop those in the chat. We will make note of them and make sure that we're building them into our plan for the next town hall meeting. And if easier, also glad to have you share what's on your mind verbally as well. Whatever is easier for you. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So the next thing that we wanted to cover is emotional safety. At DC Prep, we've always had a dual focus on academics and on social emotional development. And while the academics part often gets a lot more attention in the news because it's a lot easier for the city to measure whether schools are effective at teaching students reading and math, at DC Prep, we believe that both are critically important for students' long-term success. Social emotional learning is always important, but we know that it is even more important this year due to COVID-19 and the barrage of news about anti-Black racism and police brutality against Black and Latinx people. In the citywide survey, DC Prep families told us that one of your top concerns for the coming year is how your child will have a social or community connection to their peers. So we're thinking a lot about how to make sure that we are emphasizing that. Here are some of the things that we are planning. First, your child is going to be assigned to a pod, a small community of students with whom they will learn throughout the year. Beyond the physical health benefits of keeping students in small, stable groups, pods provide an opportunity for a small group of students to build deep and meaningful relationships with one another and with a small group of teachers. We hope this will be particularly helpful to you as a parent as well. While your child will interact with multiple teachers, he or she will have a pod leader who will really get to know your child and your family and who will be your point person for whatever your child needs. Second, we are rewriting our social emotional learning curriculum, or our PrEP skills, and we believe that these revisions will help us to better support students to build the social emotional foundation that will help them in all parts of their lives. What you see on the screen here is a draft version of that rewrite. We believe in the importance of relationships and community, and we know that to have strong relationships, you first have to understand yourself, your values, your emotions, your strengths, and you need to have strategies to manage yourself. Once you understand yourself, you're in a better position to understand how to engage others. And so if you look at this framework here on the left-hand side, most of these areas are like really looking inward and thinking about yourself, which is like all rooted in your values. And then on the right-hand side of the framework, you see more of an outward orientation around social awareness and relationship skills. And so once you understand yourself, you're in a better position to understand how to engage others, what motivates them, how to communicate effectively, and how to work collaboratively. So this new PrEP skill framework looks very similar to what our adult community uses as well. And that's intentional because we believe that these are the skills that all people need in order to be able to navigate life. And that part of providing your child with a great education is helping them to build the social emotional skills that they'll use throughout their lives. Third, we're also allocating more time in the day to focus on community. So we'll start each day with morning prep meeting, which is time that will be devoted to building community and to social emotional learning. Together, we believe that these changes will help ensure that students feel connected to their classroom community, supported and uplifted as individuals with their own multifaceted identities, and ready to engage in academic learning. Does my description of how we're focused on wellness this year sound like the right focus for your child? And is there anything that's on your mind that you think is missing from what I've just described?
Laura, we've had a few questions come in.
Perfect. Let me take a quick look.
While you're looking, there was one I didn't know the answer to that I quickly already shared. One was just clarifying if families had the choice to either participate in the virtual only option or the hybrid option. Like, was there a choice that families could take? And the answer is yes. It is strictly up to families to choose if they would like for their child to strictly be in our virtual learning program or to participate in the hybrid program.
Yes.
And then there was another question on how will we deal with staff and/or families that don't adhere to mask policies and other policies related to COVID-19?
It's a great question, and obviously super important. So our expectation is that every staff member will wear a mask, and we're in the process of determining what the right age is to begin expecting that all students wear masks, right? And we're looking to the guide. We have yet to get clear guidance on exactly what age that should start, because so much of it is about the developmental readiness of children to wear masks. And then you also need to take into account whether or not a child has a specific medical reason that they would not be able to. But our expectation is that anyone who can wear a mask must wear a mask. I think from a staff perspective, our expectation would be you can't come to work if you're not wearing a mask. And with students, we will need to do the work to figure out how to build an understanding of how to help children understand the need to wear a mask and how to do so safely.
And I'm just going to clarify as face covering. I don't necessarily want to use the term mask. It's not all what we're talking about. Face covering is what we're talking about.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we're obviously thinking about how to use face shields as well. Other questions. Will parents be notified if someone their child may have come into contact with tests positive for COVID-19? Yes, we will be working with the Department of Health to make sure that if any member of our community does have a confirmed case of COVID-19, we would be even if there's a suspected case, we immediately reach out to the Department of Health. And there's like a very clear protocol that we need to follow to make sure that like all of the right notifications take place. So obviously that's something that we take very seriously. There was also a question about whether there will still be aftercare. Yes, our understanding is that there will still be aftercare. We've been looking for guidance from the city around exactly what structures need to be in place for aftercare to happen safely. But the guidance that we've received, and Niels, you should correct me if you have heard anything different. My understanding is that aftercare can still take place, and we'll just need to be careful about ensuring stable groups of students during aftercare.
Correct.
Thank you. Will students have the option? Yes. Children will be required to.
Laura, it may help for us to continue and pick back up questions towards the end.
That sounds great.
Because folks may have more. We may answer some questions that are coming up, and folks may have more time to think about questions they may have.
Makes sense. Thank you. Okay, so I will keep going on, and we will talk next about academic learning. So in the citywide survey, you said that our third priority after health protocols should be preparing students to recover academically. To do that, we are deeply focused on meeting the specific needs of each of our students. And we'll do that by using individualized learning plans, or ILPs. ILPs reflect our belief that students learn best when they are known deeply. To develop strong ILPs, teachers must really understand their students as learners and as people, and build strong relationships with students and families. Our teachers will collaborate to build the ILPs, which forces important conversations among our team about how to best meet students' individual needs. This year, we're very focused on student voice. To create change in the world, students must be able to communicate their ideas clearly and persuasively, and that will be a focus in every subject area. And will also be our focus when our teacher teams and at a network level, we are looking at assessments, because we're going to be looking at the assessments that really illustrate student thinking, which helps us think about how we can better support students to hone their voice. We will also be streamlining our assessments. This year, we're focused on student growth and progress. This will require that we really know our student data and can pinpoint students' gaps so that we can provide individualized learning support. We will rely on assessments that tell us more about what students think and how they communicate their ideas through words, and we'll spend less time on multiple choice assessments. We will maintain interim assessments as a way to keep a pulse on student growth and mastery of the standards, but use our collaboration and coordination time in order to look at student work where they're being asked to explain their thinking on word problems or explain an idea from a text reading. In doing this, we can build on work we did this year to utilize a simple transferable ELA rubric. And in the coming year, we'll do the same thing with math story problems. We will also be narrowing our Tier 1 curriculum where possible. Because it is inevitable that we will have less in-person time with students, we need to be very thoughtful about how we use the time when we're together. To make time for social emotional learning and for project-based learning opportunities that we believe will help create a more engaging and rigorous learning experience, we have to be really focused in what we do with our in-person learning time. This means analyzing and revising our curriculum to identify the most high leverage activities and lessons to do with students. Our guided discovery, our exploration, our discourse, our close reads of critical passages of text, our feedback to one another's work as our in-person work, or if we're remote, that's the work that we would do during synchronous instruction. And we will also identify which aspects of our curriculum we should encourage students to tackle more independently. So problem sets, practice problems, academic tech supports, reading on some grade levels, writing in response to reading or according to prompts, researching, building content knowledge are all areas where we will encourage students to build independence. In contrast, when it's important for skills to be learned with fidelity in a specific sequence, like foundational reading, we'll ensure that remains a top priority in the Tier 1 instruction for those grade bands. So, in a nutshell, 2020 is not a year that any of us could have imagined. And on many levels, it's not the year that we want. COVID-19 poses very real health risks, and the very real and terrible realities of racism and police brutality impact the physical and emotional safety of our community as well. But these are the realities that we all face, and they are forcing good changes within DC Prep. The work that we're doing to improve our academic and social emotional learning is work that we really believe in. The pandemic is simply forcing us to do it faster. And so for that reason, I'm grateful and I'm excited for the year ahead. While it won't be without its challenges, this year will make us a better school for your child. More focused on your child's unique needs, more ways to help your child hone their voice and become a radical problem solver in a world that desperately needs their brilliance. So thank you for the opportunity to partner with your family. Please keep asking questions and sharing feedback. It only makes us stronger. I want to quickly wrap up by taking you through a little bit of what's up next. So on July 16th, we will hold another town hall meeting for families. And that will be, I think, July 14th for members of our DC Prep team. And at that meeting, we will share more specifics about what the school experience will be like in the fall. So like what the schedule will be like, a day in the life for your child. And we will talk about what you can expect during the August student and family orientation period. During the August orientation period, your child will meet their pod leader either in person or virtually and begin to get to know their pod. They will learn and practice health and safety protocols, and they will take diagnostic assessments to help us build a more individualized view of where your child is academically after the summer and what learning supports they need to grow. We'll also have opportunities for families to learn more about what we expect of your child and the supports that we'll provide them to be successful, and to pick up a Chromebook and participate in an orientation on the technology your child will use throughout the year. By the end of next week, we will send you a customized link where you can indicate whether you want your child to participate solely in online learning or if you want them to participate in a blended model where they come to school in person and participate in online learning. And so if you know what you want to do right now, you can fill out that survey now, and you can change your response up until Wednesday, July 22nd. We know that some of you may want to wait until after the next town hall meeting where we'll share more information, because we're hoping to get you as much information as possible to make the right decision for your family. We will then use the preferences that you share with us to finalize your child's schedule, and you'll receive information about your child's pod around August 7th. The decision about whether your child attends school in person is not going to be binding for the entire school year. We know that your needs, your child's needs may change. And so we are figuring out the points throughout the year when families who've opted to have their child participate in the 100% virtual offering can shift to a blended approach where your child comes into school as well. We haven't yet made the decision about exactly when those time periods will be, but we will confirm the timeline for making changes by the start of the school year so that you'll know like how long each phase will be. And that is what we wanted to cover with you guys tonight. If you have questions over the next few weeks, we'll have a survey link on our COVID-19 resource page on the DC Prep website. And Niels is going to drop that in the bottom of the, did you already do that? I'm sure you did.
Just did it.
You're always ahead of me, yes. We check the link, the survey link every day. And so we'll make sure that we get you a quick response if you send us feedback through that survey. Our principals are also on vacation until Monday, but once they're back, they want to hear from you as well. So please feel free to reach out to your child's principal with additional questions or concerns.